Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a man who spent 27 years behind bars, yet never allowed bitterness to define him. A man who walked out of prison not seeking revenge, but seeking reconciliation. That man, Nelson Mandela, is known to the world as a freedom fighter, a symbol of courage and justice. But today, I want to take you on a journey into a side of Mandela that few have explored, his untold business legacy. Beyond this struggle for political freedom, Mandela's life was a masterclass in leadership, vision, and ethical enterprise. He taught us that true power lies not just in winning battles, but in inspiring others, fostering innovation, and building institutions that endure. As we uncover how this extraordinary leader inspired global enterprises, you will see that his lessons are not confined to politics. They are principles that can transform every boardroom, every startup, and every individual striving for excellence. Get ready to discover how Mandela's courage, integrity, and wisdom continue to light the path for businesses and leaders around the world. Nelson Mandela's leadership was never confined to the walls of politics, nor limited to the struggle against apartheid. His influence reached far beyond the governmental sphere and quietly entered the world of business, leadership development, and global enterprise. Mandela showed the world that true leadership is defined not by position, but by purpose, character, and the ability to inspire change wherever one stands. When he emerged from prison after nearly 3 decades, he stepped into a nation divided, fearful, and fragile. Yet he led not with anger, but with clarity and vision. This same vision would become a blueprint for leaders in every field, especially in business, where resilience, trust, and integrity shape the foundation of every successful enterprise. Mandela understood that leadership is not about commanding others. It is about lighting a path that others willingly choose to follow. In boardrooms and corporate cultures across the world, his principles found a home. Businesses began to realize that long-term success requires more than profit. It demands purpose. Mandela demonstrated that ethical leadership builds stronger companies, more loyal teams, and sustainable growth. He became a symbol of how values such as fairness, transparency, and compassion can transform the way organizations operate and the way people collaborate. His resilience in adversity became a timeless lesson for entrepreneurs and executives alike. Mandela endured hardships that would have broken most people, yet he remained unshaken in his commitment to justice and unity. In the fast-changing world of business, where challenges, failures, and uncertainty are constant companions, his example reminds leaders that setbacks are not dead ends but stepping stones. He showed that even in the darkest moments, a determined mind and a courageous heart can reshape destinies. This mindset continues to inspire innovators, risk-takers, and builders across the globe. Mandela also believed deeply in the power of inclusivity. He understood that no enterprise, whether a nation or a company, can thrive when people are divided. His approach to reconciliation became a model for teamwork and healthy organizational culture. Many global corporations adopted principles rooted in Mandela's philosophy, empowering diverse voices, fostering collaboration, and creating environments where people feel valued and respected. He proved that unity is not merely a moral ideal, it is a practical strategy for collective success. Above all, Mandela's leadership beyond politics taught businesses that greatness is achieved when ambition is guided by moral purpose. He redefined what it means to lead with integrity. He reminded the world that a leader's influence is not measured only by the results they produce, but by the lives they uplift and the opportunities they create. His legacy continues to echo across global enterprises, inspiring leaders to stand firm in their values while striving for excellence. In every corner of the world, from small startups to multinational giants, Mandela's spirit lives on. His life whispers to every leader, be courageous, be ethical, be resilient, and let your leadership reach beyond titles and transform the world around you. Ethical entrepreneurship, as reflected through the life and values of Nelson Mandela, is far more than a business principle. It is a way of living, leading, and building that places humanity at the center of every decision. Mandela believed that progress meant nothing unless it uplifted people, strengthened communities, and opened doors of opportunity. This belief forms the foundation of what modern leaders now call purpose-driven enterprise. In a world where businesses are often judged solely by profit margins, Mandela's philosophy reminds us that true success is measured by the integrity with which we operate and the positive impact we leave behind. Mandela understood that fairness is not just a moral ideal, but a practical force that creates trust. He lived by the conviction that every individual deserves respect, dignity, and equal opportunity. When applied to entrepreneurship, this principle becomes a powerful tool. Leaders who practice fairness create workplaces where people feel valued and motivated, where employees give their best because they know they are seen. Such environments naturally breed innovation, loyalty, and long-term stability. Mandela's example teaches us that treating people justly is not an optional gesture. It is a strategic advantage that elevates both the organization and the individuals within it. Transparency was another cornerstone of Mandela's character. Even in the harshest moments of his struggle, he believed in speaking truthfully and acting openly. In business, transparency builds credibility. Customers trust companies that communicate honestly. Employees remain committed to leaders who share information clearly. Mandela's legacy teaches entrepreneurs that secrecy and hidden motives erode foundations, while openness builds relationships that stand the test of time. Businesses guided by transparency gain not only respect, but also resilience, for people naturally support what they understand and believe in. Social responsibility was at the heart of Mandela's mission. He knew that progress must never be selfish. Every action should uplift others, especially the vulnerable and overlooked. For entrepreneurs, this becomes a call to build companies that do more than chase profit, companies that solve problems, support communities, and contribute to a better world. Mandela's life encourages leaders to ask, how can my success bring hope? How can my enterprise create change? When businesses adopt this mindset, they transform into engines of development, education, and empowerment. Ethical entrepreneurship, inspired by Mandela, is not about perfection. It is about commitment. It is about choosing what is right, even when it is not easy. It is about leading with conscience when shortcuts appear attractive. Mandela taught that integrity is not an accessory to leadership. It is its backbone. And in every era, businesses that rise with integrity stand stronger, grow deeper, and leave a legacy that outlives profit charts. In the end, Mandela's blueprint for ethical entrepreneurship calls every leader to build with purpose, to act with honesty, and to serve with heart. It reminds us that the most successful enterprises are not those that dominate markets, but those that elevate humanity. Resilience in adversity is one of the greatest gifts Nelson Mandela offered to the world, a living testimony of what the human spirit can endure and overcome. His life reminds us that challenges are not signals to stop, they are invitations to rise. For 27 long years, he sat behind prison walls, separated from his family, his people, and the world. Yet those years did not break him. They shaped him. They carved into him the strength, patience, and clarity that would later guide an entire nation. For entrepreneurs, leaders, and dreamers, Mandela's journey is a powerful reminder that adversity is not a dead end. It is the very path that shapes greatness. Every entrepreneur faces seasons of doubt, failure, and disappointment. There are moments when the vision seems too distant, when resources are scarce, when critics grow loud, and when setbacks feel overwhelming. But Mandela teaches us that the darkest moments are often the ones that prepare us for our brightest breakthroughs. He understood that resilience is not merely about surviving hardship, it is about transforming hardship into wisdom. It is about refusing to allow circumstances to dictate destiny. It is about seeing beyond the storm and believing deeply in the horizon. Mandela's resilience was built on purpose. He knew why he was fighting, and that purpose gave him the strength to endure what others could not. In business and leadership, purpose becomes the anchor that holds us firm when everything around us shakes. Entrepreneurs who know why they began their journey are the ones who rise again after every fall. Mandela's story teaches us that when your purpose is clear, setbacks lose their power to define you. He also understood the importance of patience. Progress does not always come quickly, and growth is rarely immediate. Mandela embraced the long road because he knew that lasting change takes time. In the world of enterprise, patience becomes a strategic advantage. Leaders who rush often break. Leaders who endure often build legacies. Patience allows you to learn, to adapt, and to grow stronger through each challenge. Mandela's life is a reminder that the long road, though difficult, often leads to the most meaningful destinations. Another lesson of resilience from Mandela's journey is emotional discipline. He refused to let anger, fear, or exhaustion control his actions. Entrepreneurs, too, must learn to stay steady in uncertain times. Building a business requires the courage to stay calm when the future is unclear, the discipline to keep moving when progress slows, and the maturity to rise above frustration and self-doubt. Mandela showed that emotional strength is not the absence of pain, it is the mastery of it. Ultimately, Mandela teaches us that resilience is a daily choice. It is waking up and deciding to move forward. Even when the odds are against you, it is believing in your vision when no one else sees it yet. It is holding on to hope even when circumstances whisper otherwise. His life reminds every leader and entrepreneur that adversity is not the enemy. It is the training ground for greatness. Nelson Mandela's influence stretches far beyond the borders of South Africa, reaching into boardrooms, factories, classrooms, and communities across every continent. His values did not remain confined to political speeches or historical moments. They became guiding principles for leaders and enterprises worldwide. Mandela showed the world that leadership rooted in humanity can cross oceans, reshape industries, and inspire a new generation of thinkers and builders. His life became a global message that success without compassion is empty, and progress without inclusion is fragile. Businesses and leaders everywhere saw in him a model that proved leadership is not about domination, but about elevating people. Around the world, organizations began embracing Mandela's belief that every person has potential waiting to be unlocked. Global enterprises today speak openly about diversity, inclusion, and empowerment, pillars Mandela championed long before they became corporate priorities. His insistence on recognizing the dignity of every individual inspired companies to build cultures where different voices are not just tolerated, but celebrated. Leaders learn that teams flourish when people feel seen, heard, and valued. Mandela's example became a reminder that unity is not created by erasing differences, but by respecting them. His spirit of reconciliation also transformed how businesses handle conflict and competition. Mandela taught that progress comes not from crushing opponents, but from seeking understanding, finding common ground, and building partnerships. International corporations adopted this mindset, moving toward collaborative leadership models, transparent communication, and ethical negotiations. Mandela showed that even when disagreements are deep, respect can open doors that hostility keeps closed. His legacy encouraged leaders to replace fear with dialogue and rivalry with cooperation. Purpose-driven leadership, another core part of Mandela's legacy, spread widely across the global business landscape. Companies began aligning their missions not only with financial goals, but with social impact. Many started investing in education, healthcare, and community development, areas Mandela devoted his life to improving. Entrepreneurs found inspiration in his commitment to justice and used their businesses as platforms to fight inequality, uplift marginalized groups, and bring hope to forgotten communities. Mandela reminded the world that every enterprise has the power to change lives, and with that power comes responsibility. His ability to unite people behind a shared vision also became a global lesson in leadership. Businesses learned that when a leader inspires belief, teams work with passion. When a leader embodies integrity, trust naturally follows. Mandela proved that leadership built on humility and compassion generates loyalty that no amount of authority can force. His way of leading by example influenced countless CEOs, innovators, and public figures who saw in him a blueprint for authentic and transformative leadership. Today, Mandela's spirit continues to guide global enterprises toward empathy, inclusivity, and purpose. His values live on in leaders who choose understanding over division, service over ego, and humanity over profit. Mandela's global inspiration reminds us that leadership is not measured by how far you rise, but by how many lives you lift along the way. Nelson Mandela's legacy of empowerment is one of the most profound gifts he left to the world, a reminder that true leadership is not measured by how much power one holds, but by how many people one empowers. Throughout his life, Mandela understood that a nation cannot rise unless its people rise with it. He believed that education, opportunity, and economic upliftment were not privileges but rights that every human being deserved. This belief became the foundation of his work, not only in political transformation, but in building pathways for growth, development, and dignity. His legacy calls leaders and businesses today to move beyond self-interest and toward collective empowerment. Mandela placed enormous faith in the power of education. He famously said that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world, and he lived that truth. He spent years advocating for schools, scholarships, and programs that could lift children out of poverty and open doors that had long been shut. For modern enterprises, this message still rings loud and clear. Companies today who invest in training, capacity building, and learning create employees who are not only skilled, but confident and motivated. Mandela's example teaches that when you enrich minds, you enrich futures. And when businesses uplift their people, they uplift their entire industry. Economic empowerment was another pillar of Mandela's vision. He wanted people not only to have freedom in principle, but also freedom in livelihood. He worked to create opportunities where communities could participate fully in economic life, breaking cycles of inequality and exclusion. In the business world, this translates into developing inclusive hiring practices, supporting small suppliers, nurturing entrepreneurs, and building channels through which underserved communities can thrive. Mandela showed that prosperity grows deeper roots when it is shared, and that economies flourish when every individual is given the chance to succeed. Mandela also believed in the importance of community development. He understood that progress means little if entire communities remain in struggle. His initiatives were often centered around health care, youth empowerment, rural upliftment, and social welfare, areas where businesses now play a crucial role. Today's enterprises that invest in social programs, renewable infrastructure, and community well-being are walking in Mandela's footsteps. They recognize that the health of a business is connected to the health of the society around it. Mandela's legacy highlights that leadership and compassion are not opposites. They are partners in progress. But perhaps the most powerful part of Mandela's legacy of empowerment is the belief that every individual holds the potential for greatness. He saw possibility where others saw limitation. He believed in the strength of ordinary people and the extraordinary things they could achieve when given a chance. This attitude inspires leaders today to build cultures of encouragement, trust, and opportunity. When people feel empowered, they dream bigger, work harder, and rise higher. Mandela's life reminds us that empowerment is not charity. It is partnership, investment, and belief. In every community touched by Mandela's work, in every business inspired by his values, a single truth shines brightly: empowerment multiplies. When you lift one person, you lift generations. When you open one door, you change countless lives. Mandela's legacy continues to remind the world that leadership is not about standing above others. It is about lifting others to stand with you.